Captain Thel Reese felt his heart sink as the alarm screams filled the bridge of the merchant vessel. The screens showed 3 large ships closing in fast. He recognized them immediately. Kravik raiders. The worst kind of trouble anyone could meet in deep space. "Shields up," he ordered, but his voice shook. The Valarian crew scrambled to their positions, their thin fingers dancing across controls. They were merchants, not fighters. Their ship, the Gentle Whisper, carried medical supplies and trade goods. Nothing worth dying for. The first shot hit their starboard side. The whole ship shuddered. Thelris grabbed his chair to keep from falling. His second officer, a young female named Prilma, looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. "Should we try to run?" she asked. Thelris checked the screens. The Kravik ships were faster, bigger, and armed with weapons that could tear the Gentle Whisper apart in minutes. Running would only delay the inevitable. "Send a distress call," he said quietly. "All frequencies, emergency priority." Prilma's hands moved quickly. Within seconds, their SOS beacon was broadcasting into the void. Thelris knew the nearest galactic peacekeeping patrol was days away. But maybe, just maybe, someone would hear. Someone would care. The message went out into the darkness of space, carrying their coordinates and a simple plea for help. Thelris watched it go, and tried not to think about the fact that no one would arrive in time. Another explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered. Somewhere below, he heard crew members crying out in fear. "They're demanding we shut down our engines and prepare for boarding," Prilma said, her voice barely a whisper. Thelris closed his eyes. He knew what happened when Kraviks boarded civilian ships. The stories were terrible. The Kraviks were huge, violent creatures who enjoyed causing pain. They took what they wanted and killed whoever got in their way. "Tell all crew to move to the inner compartments," he said. "Seal the doors. Maybe we can buy some time until help arrives." Prilma looked at him. They both knew help wouldn't arrive. But they had to try. Far across the sector, in the quiet darkness between stars, the human exploration ship, Horizon's Edge, drifted through empty space. Captain Daehyun Kim sat in his command chair, reviewing the day's survey data. His ship was small by galactic standards, built for science and exploration rather than combat. 12 crew members total, all specialists in various fields. "Captain," said Minji, the pilot. "I'm picking up a distress signal." Daehyun looked up. "Location?" "About 6 hours away at full speed," Minji said, pulling up the star charts. "It's broadcasting on all emergency channels. Someone's in serious trouble." Hana, the first officer, walked over to look at the data. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "The message says they're under attack by raiders." "Kravik." From the sound of it, Daehyun stood up. He knew what that meant. The Kraviks were one of the more dangerous species in this part of space. Big, aggressive, and they didn't take prisoners often. "How far is the nearest patrol?" he asked. Hana checked. 3 days, maybe more. By the time they arrive, it'll be over. The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what Daehyun was thinking. The Horizon's Edge wasn't a warship. They had basic defensive weapons, nothing more. Taking on Kravik raiders would be incredibly dangerous. "We're 6 hours away," Junho said from the engineering station. He was their chief engineer, a man who could fix anything with enough time and tools. "Captain," Hana said carefully, "we're not equipped for combat. We're scientists, not soldiers." Daehyun looked at her, then at the rest of his crew. Yuna, their medical officer, watched him with calm eyes. Kiwon, who handled their security systems, waited for orders. They were all good people, smart, capable people who had signed up to explore the galaxy, not fight wars. But someone was dying out there. Someone had sent out a desperate call for help into the void. "Set course," Daehyun said. "Maximum speed." "Sir," Hana started to protest. "I know what you're going to say," Daehyun cut her off gently. I know the risks. But that's someone's family out there. Someone's friends. We can't just ignore them. Hana studied his face for a long moment. Then nodded. All crew. Battle stations. This is not a drill. The Horizon's Edge changed course, its engines burning bright as it raced toward the distress signal. Inside, the crew prepared themselves. They checked their limited weapons, sealed their pressure suits, and tried not to think too hard about what they were about to do. Daehyun stood on the bridge and watched the stars streak past. Humans had only been traveling in space for 15 years. They were new to this galaxy, new to all the species and politics and dangers that filled it. Earth had taught them to be careful, to think before acting. But Earth had also taught them something else. Something that ran deep in every human's blood. When someone called for help, you answered. Back on the gentle whisper, the Kravix had breached the hull. Thelreese could hear them moving through the outer corridors, their heavy footsteps making the deck plates ring. They were searching for the crew, tearing through doors and bulkheads like they were made of paper. How long until the inner doors fail? He asked. Maybe 10 minutes, Prilma said. She was trying to be brave, but tears ran down her face. Thelreese put a hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry I brought you into this. You didn't know, she said. No one could have known. The sounds of destruction grew louder. The Kravix were close now. Very close. And then, impossibly, Prilma's console lit up with a new signal. Captain, she said, her voice rising with sudden hope. There's a ship dropping out of faster-than-light travel, right on top of our position. Thelreese leaned over to look. Sure enough, a new contact appeared on the sensors. A small ship, nothing like a military vessel. But it was here. Someone had actually answered their call. Try to contact them, he ordered. The communication went through. A face appeared on the screen. It was unlike any species Thelreese had ever seen. The being had smooth skin, forward-facing eyes, and a strange symmetry to its features. When it spoke, its voice was calm and steady. This is Captain Daehyun Kim of the Earthship Horizon's Edge, the being said. We received your distress call. Hold on, we're coming to get you. Thelreese wanted to warn them about the Kravix, wanted to tell them to run and save themselves. But before he could speak, the connection cut out. Outside, in the darkness of space, the human ship moved toward the Kravik vessels. Thelreese watched on his sensors and prayed to his gods that these strangers, whoever they were, knew what they were getting into. The Kraviks had noticed the new arrival too, and they were not happy about the interruption. The Kravik warlord Drektor watched the small ship approach on his scanner and laughed. The sound was ugly and mean, echoing through the bridge of his assault vessel. His crew joined in, their deep voices mixing into a chorus of mockery. What is that supposed to be? His second-in-command growled. A rescue ship? It's barely bigger than a cargo shuttle. Drektor zoomed in on the vessel. The design was unfamiliar. Not Valerian. Not any species he recognized. Probably some foolish merchants who thought they could play hero. Open a channel, he ordered. Let's see who's stupid enough to interrupt our raid. The communication screen flickered to life. The being on the other end made Drektor pause. It was small, compared to a Kravik. But something about its eyes bothered him. They faced forward, like a predator's eyes. Most species in the galaxy had eyes on the sides of their heads. This one stared directly at him. This is Captain Daehyun Kim, the being said. Its voice was quiet, but firm. You're attacking an unarmed civilian vessel. Release them immediately, and we'll let you leave peacefully. Drektor stared at the screen for a moment, then burst out laughing again. Let us leave? You will let us leave? He leaned forward. Little creature, do you know who you're talking to? I am Drektor, warlord of the Kravik Raiders. We've been hunting these space lanes for 10 cycles. What makes you think you can stop us? I'm giving you one chance, Daehyun said calmly. Take it, Drektor's amusement died. You dare threaten me? I'll crack your ship open and feed you to the void. He cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. Destroy them. The Kravik assault ships opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the small human vessel. Drektor expected to see it explode or try to run. Instead, the ship moved. It wasn't like any maneuvering Drektor had ever seen. The human vessel twisted and rolled through space, dodging fire that should have been impossible to avoid. The acceleration alone should have killed everyone inside. But the ship kept moving, kept dancing between the weapons fire. What in the void? Drektor's weapons officer whispered. Inside the horizon's edge, pilot Minji worked the controls with practiced ease. Her body handled the intense G-forces without complaint. She had trained for this her whole life, growing up on Earth, where gravity itself was a constant enemy. Kiwan, I'm putting you in range, she called out. Copy that, Kiwan replied from the weapons station. He was their security chief, not a trained military gunner, but his reflexes were sharp. He waited for the perfect moment, then fired. Their defensive weapons weren't designed for ship-to-ship combat, but they didn't need to be. Kiwan aimed for weak points, targeting sensor arrays and weapon systems. One Kravik ship sparked and went dark, its weapons disabled. Good shot, Daehyun said. He stood in the center of the bridge, hands behind his back, completely calm despite the chaos around them. Minji, bring us alongside the lead ship. Sir? Hana looked at him. We can't win a space battle against 3 assault ships, Daehyun said. But we don't need to. We just need to get aboard. Hana understood immediately. She didn't like it, but she understood. All crew. Prepare for boarding action. Break out the breach equipment. 12 humans moved through the ship, pulling on their modified EVA suits and grabbing whatever weapons they had. Most of them weren't fighters. Junho was an engineer. Yuna was a doctor. Suji, Yuna's assistant, had never hurt anyone in her life. But they were human, and humans came from Earth. The horizon's edge slammed into the side of Drektor's ship, magnetic clamps locking the 2 vessels together. Alarms screamed throughout the Kravik vessel. They're boarding? Drektor couldn't believe it. 12 life signs. 12. They're insane. He grabbed his weapon. All warriors, to the boarding point. We'll crush them ourselves. The humans cut through the airlock with plasma torches. Junho worked quickly, his hands steady despite the danger. When the seal broke, air rushed out in a hiss. The humans pushed through into the Kravik ship. They found themselves in a narrow corridor. At the far end, 40 Kravik warriors charged toward them, roaring battle cries. Each Kravik stood over 2 meters tall, covered in thick scales and natural armor. They carried weapons that could punch through steel. The first Kravik to reach the humans was a massive warrior named Grek Tal. He had killed dozens of beings in battle. He saw a small human at the front and charged, planning to crush the tiny creature with his bare hands. The human was Junho. He watched the Kravik charge, calculated the speed and trajectory, then stepped aside at the last possible second. As Grektal rushed past, Junho struck with his weapon, hitting a nerve cluster on the Kravik's neck. Grektal went down hard, paralyzed but alive. He lay on the deck, unable to move, unable to understand what had just happened. The other humans moved like water through the corridor. They worked together with perfect coordination. No wasted movements, no hesitation. Kiwan led the combat team, his tactics honed by years of training on a planet where survival meant outthinking bigger, stronger predators. Yuna moved behind the fighters, but she wasn't hiding. She watched the battle with clinical eyes, identifying weak points in Kravik anatomy. When a warrior got too close, she struck with precision, disabling without killing. The Kraviks had never faced anything like this. Their opponents were smaller, but faster, weaker, but smarter. The humans moved with a cold efficiency that terrified the raiders. They showed no fear, no hesitation. They were apex predators doing what apex predators do best: Hunting. Drektor arrived at the battle and stopped cold. Half his warriors were already down. The other half were backing away from the humans, fear showing in their eyes for the first time in their lives. "What are you?" Drektor whispered. Daehyun stepped forward, his weapon pointed at the warlord but not firing. "We're humans. We're from a planet called Earth, and we came here to save innocent people." He paused. "Put down your weapons. This is over." Drektor looked at his remaining warriors. He looked at the ones on the ground, defeated but alive. These strange beings could have killed them all, but they had chosen not to. For the first time in 20 years of raiding, Drektor felt true fear. He dropped his weapon. The other Kraviks followed his lead. Within minutes, the entire raiding crew was secured. The humans moved through the ship with swift efficiency, making sure no one else was hurt. On the Gentle Whisper, Captain Thelris and his crew watched in stunned silence as the human ship's signal confirmed their victory. "They won," Prilma said, disbelief in her voice. 12 of them, against 40 Kraviks. And they won. Thelris couldn't speak. He just stared at the scanners, trying to understand what kind of species could do such a thing. A new message appeared on their screen. The human captain, Daehyun, looked tired but his expression was kind. "The raiders are secured," he said. "You're safe now. We're coming over to check for injuries and help with repairs." "Thank you," Thelris managed to say. "Don't mention it," Daehyun replied. "Just glad we got here in time." The communication ended. Thelris sat back in his chair and started to shake. They were alive. Against all odds, against all logic, they were alive. And it was because 12 beings from a species he'd never heard of had decided that a stranger's distress call was worth risking their lives for. What kind of people were these humans? Thelris was about to find out. Yuna stepped through the airlock onto the Gentle Whisper, carrying her medical kit. Behind her came Suji and 2 other crew members. The Valerian ship was damaged, but still intact. The humans had arrived just in time. The first Valerian they encountered backed against the wall, eyes wide with fear. Yuna stopped immediately and held up her empty hands. "It's okay," she said softly. "We're here to help." "Are you hurt?" The Valerian, a young male, stared at her. His eyes kept focusing on Yuna's face, specifically her forward-facing predator eyes. In nature, prey species had eyes on the sides of their heads to watch for danger. Predators had eyes that faced forward to track prey. Yuna understood the fear. She'd seen it in animals back on Earth. She kept her movements slow and non-threatening. "My name is Yuna. I'm a doctor. Can you tell me if anyone is injured?" The Valerian's training finally overcame his fear. "Medical bay. 3rd level down. We have wounded." "Thank you," Yuna said. She moved past him carefully, giving him space. As she walked away, she heard him let out a shaky breath. In the medical bay, Captain Thelris sat on a bed, while a Valerian medic wrapped his arm. He looked up when Yuna entered, and immediately tensed. "Captain," Yuna said, "I'm a medical officer. May I check your crew for injuries? Our scanners showed some serious wounds. Number 1. Number 1. I'm 7. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Thelris studied her. Up close, humans were even stranger. Their skin was smooth and soft-looking, but the muscles underneath moved with obvious strength. Yuna's hands, so similar to his own, had evolved for gripping and using tools. But there was something different about them. Something that suggested they could be weapons if needed. "Please," he said finally. "Help them." Yuna worked quickly. The wounded Valerians were suffering from broken bones and impact trauma from the Kravik attack. She pulled out her medical scanner and started diagnosing. The Valerian medic watched in fascination. "That device. It's reading all their vitals at once?" "Yes," Yuna said, not looking up. "We need fast diagnosis back home." Earth is dangerous. Medical emergencies happen a lot. Earth? Thelris asked. That's your homeworld? Yes. Yuna injected one of the wounded with medication that would help with the pain. We're new to space travel. Only about 15 years since we developed faster-than-light drives. Thelris felt shock ripple through him. 15 years? That was nothing. Most species took centuries to go from first space flight to FTL travel. That's remarkably fast progress. Yuna smiled slightly. Humans are good at solving problems. We've had a lot of practice. While Yuna worked in medical, Junho and his team were examining the Gentle Whispers engines. The damage was bad but fixable. The chief Valerian engineer, an old male named Trelvik, watched as Junho's hands moved over the systems. You understand Valerian engine design? Trelvik asked, surprised. The basics are similar to human designs, Junho said. He pulled out a damaged component. Though you use more elegant solutions than we do. Our engines are built tougher because they have to survive more stress. Stress. Earth has strong gravity. 1G, we call it. Everything is heavier there. So our ships need to be stronger, just to take off. Junho examined the component, then pulled out a tool. I can fix this, but it'll take a few hours. Trelvik watched the human work with quiet amazement. The efficiency, the confidence, the sheer competence. May I ask you something? Sure. Junho said. What classification is Earth? Your homeworld, Junyu paused. Class Dozy Deathworld. The tool fell from Trelvik's hands. 12? That's... The scale only goes to 15. How did your species survive? We adapted, Junho said simply. Our planet is tough, so we got tough too. High gravity, dangerous weather, lots of predators. You learn to be smart and strong, or you don't make it. On the bridge, Daehyun and Hana were talking with Captain Thelris. The Valarian captain had pulled up information about Earth on his computer. What little information existed. Your atmospheric composition, Thelris said, reading the data. Oxygen at 21%. That's toxic to most species. It's what we breathe, Hana said. Our bodies need it. Back when life first evolved on Earth, oxygen was actually poison to most organisms. But some adapted to use it. Eventually, those oxygen users took over. Your temperature range, Thelris continued scrolling. You can survive from -40 to +40 degrees standard? That's a 100-degree range. Earth has different climate zones, Daehyun explained. Humans evolved to handle variety. We sweat when it's hot to cool down. We shiver when it's cold to warm up. We adapted to live almost anywhere on our planet. Thelris put down the datapad. His hands were shaking. I don't understand. If your world is so hostile, why did you come to help us? You could have stayed in your sector, safe and isolated. Daehyun met his eyes. Because you called for help. Because people were dying. On Earth, we learned that survival isn't just about being strong. It's about working together, helping each other. That's how humans survived. That's who we are. But the Kraviks, Prilma said from her station. You fought them like it was nothing. 12 against 40. And you won in minutes. Hana chose her words carefully. Earth made us. Capable in combat. We had to be. But being able to fight doesn't mean we want to. We prefer peace. We prefer cooperation. But if someone threatens innocent people... She let the sentence hang. Thelris understood. These humans were predators. Yes. But they were predators who had chosen to protect instead of hunt. The most dangerous kind of being. One that could destroy, but chose not to. What will you do with the Kraviks? He asked. Turn them over to the proper authorities, Daehyun said. They'll face justice for their crimes. The wounded ones are being treated right now. You're healing them? Thelris was shocked. After they tried to kill you? They're still living beings, Yuna said, returning from the medical bay. Just because they made bad choices doesn't mean we should let them die. Besides, healing is what I do. It's who I am. Thelreese looked at each of the humans. He saw their strength, yes, but he also saw their compassion, their code of ethics, their sense of duty. These were not mindless predators. These were thinking, feeling beings who had survived hell and chosen to be kind anyway. The galaxy needs to know about you, he said quietly. Daehan shook his head. We're not heroes, Captain. We just did what anyone should do. No, Thelreese said firmly. That's where you're wrong. Most species wouldn't have come. Most would have been too afraid, or too practical. They would have calculated the risk and decided it wasn't worth it. He stood up despite his injuries. You risked your lives for strangers. You faced down Kravik raiders with a science vessel. You won a battle you should have lost, then showed mercy to your enemies. That's not normal. That's exceptional. The humans looked uncomfortable with the praise. Daehyun cleared his throat. We should finish the repairs and get you to a safe port. Is there a station nearby? And Haven's Rest, Prilma said. 2 days away. It's a major trading hub. 2, then that's where we'll take you. Daehyun said. As the humans returned to their ship to prepare for the journey, Thelreese sat back down in his chair. He composed a message and sent it out through subspace communications. The message was simple. First contact with new species, called humans. Saved our ship from Kravik raiders. Extremely capable in combat. Also, extremely compassionate. Galaxy Council needs to know about them immediately. Detailed report to follow. He sent the message and watched it disappear into the communication network. Within hours, it would reach dozens of worlds. Within days, the whole galaxy would be talking about the newcomers. The Deathworlders had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. The trading station, Haven's Rest, hung in space like a massive wheel, lights twinkling along its rim. Ships of every size and design docked at various ports. It was a meeting place for dozens of species, a hub of commerce and information. Daehyun watched it grow larger on the view screen. It's beautiful. It's also crowded, Hana said, reading the scanners. I'm counting over 50 ships currently docked. This is bigger than we expected. I'm Seo, Captain, Minji called from the pilot station. Station control is hailing us. They're asking for our identification and purpose. Tell them we're escorting the Gentle Whisper for repairs, Daehyun said. We're the horizon's edge from Earth. There was a pause after Minji sent the message. Then the station controller's voice came back, sounding excited. Did you say Earth? As in the humans who fought the Kravik raiders? Daehyun and Hana exchanged glances. News traveled fast. Yes, Daehyun confirmed. We responded to a distress call. Stand by, the controller said. You're cleared for docking at Priority Bay 7. That's usually reserved for diplomatic vessels. But, well, there are a lot of people who want to meet you. The Horizon's Edge and the Gentle Whisper docked side by side. As the airlocks opened, Daehyun led his crew into the station. He expected a quiet arrival. Maybe a few station officials. Instead, they walked into a crowd. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species filled the docking bay. They pushed forward, trying to get a look at the humans. Some held recording devices. Others simply stared with open curiosity or fear. Station security, a mix of different species wearing uniform badges, formed a barrier to keep the crowd back. A tall, elegant being with crystalline features approached. She moved with grace and held up a hand for silence. I am Administrator Shalora, she said. Her voice was musical, like wind chimes. Welcome to Haven's Rest. On behalf of the station, thank you for your service to the Gentle Whisper and her crew. We were just helping, Daehyun said. Anyone would have done the same. A ripple of surprised sounds went through the crowd. Shalora smiled. Which is why your actions are noteworthy. She gestured toward a corridor. We have prepared quarters for your crew. There are also several parties who wish to speak with you, if you're willing. Dae-hyun looked at his crew. They were tired but alert. What kind of parties? The representatives from the Galactic Council, trade guilds, the Valerian Merchant Alliance, and... She paused. The Kravik Diplomatic Corps. The legitimate one. Not the raiders. Before Dae-hyun could respond, Captain Thel-Ris pushed through the crowd. It's all right, Dae-hyun said. We'll meet with them. But first, my crew needs food and sleep. We've been awake for almost 30 hours, Shalora nodded. Of course. Please, follow me. The quarters were comfortable and large enough for the entire crew. Once inside, Ki-won immediately checked the room for security issues, while Junho examined the environmental controls. Gravity is lighter here, Junho noted. About 0.7 g. Feels like walking on the moon, Yuna said, taking an experimental step. Most of the crew seemed to enjoy the lighter gravity, moving with an ease that would have looked supernatural to other species. They ate a meal of synthesized food that the station provided, analyzed to be safe for human consumption. It wasn't great, but it was calories. Then they slept in shifts, with Ki-won and 2 others staying on watch. 6 hours later, refreshed and alert, Dae-hyun prepared to meet with the various groups. Hana went with him, along with Ki-won, for security. The rest of the crew stayed behind to rest more or explore the station under Junho's supervision. The first meeting was with the Galactic Council observers. 3 beings sat across a table from the humans. A reptilian Thorian military officer named Kalseth, a small furred creature called a Pixen named Trixley, and a floating jellyfish-like being named Un. Kalseth spoke first. His voice was harsh and direct. We've reviewed the incident reports. 12 individuals from your species defeated 40 Kravik raiders in close combat. The Kraviks are considered one of the more dangerous species in this sector. They were dangerous, Dae-hyun agreed. We didn't take the situation lightly, yet you won with minimal casualties, Kalseth continued. 2 minor injuries on your side. 15 Kravik deaths, all who refused to surrender. The rest captured alive. He leaned forward. The Horizon's Edge is a science vessel, not a warship. None of your crew are military. How is this possible? Hana answered. Humans evolved on a Class 12 Deathworld. Our planet required us to develop certain capabilities to survive. Strength, endurance, tactical thinking, and the ability to work together in dangerous situations. Class 12, Trixley squeaked. I've never met anyone from a world rated higher than Class 7. What kind of threats does a Class 12 world have? Un asked, their translator converting their bioluminescent flashes into words. Almost everything, Hana said. Extreme weather that can kill in minutes. Tectonic activity that reshapes the land. Diseases that evolve faster than we can cure them. And predators. Lots of predators. And humans are the apex predator on this world? Kalseth asked. Yes, Dae-hyun said. But that's not the whole story. Yes, we can be dangerous. Our evolution made sure of that. But it also taught us cooperation. Humans are pack animals. We survived by working together, protecting each other, sharing resources. The same instinct that makes us good at fighting makes us good at protecting. To that CO, 237, Kalseth sat back. The Thorian Dominion has concerns. A species as capable in combat as you describe, with access to space travel and military technology, could be a significant threat. We're not here to threaten anyone, Dae-hyun said firmly. We're explorers, scientists. We want to learn, to trade, to make friends, but we won't stand by while innocent people are hurt. That's not a threat. That's a promise to protect. The meeting continued for another hour. They discussed Earth, human culture, and what humans wanted from the galaxy. Finally, Shalora ended the session. The Council will deliberate on humanity's status, she said. In the meantime, you are welcome at Haven's Rest as honored guests. The next meeting was with the Kravik diplomatic delegation. 3 Kravik officials entered, and Daehyun noticed how they moved carefully, almost nervously. These were civilized Kraviks, nothing like the raiders, but they clearly knew what humans had done. Captain Kim, the lead diplomat said. His name was Throcknell. We apologize for the actions of the raiders. They do not represent the Kravik people. Most of us are peaceful traders and citizens. I understand, Daehyun said. Every species has criminals. Throcknell looked relieved. We wanted to thank you for showing mercy. You could have killed them all. Instead, you captured them alive. That shows honor. We don't believe in unnecessary killing, Daehyun said. They'll face justice for their crimes. That's enough. The Kravik government would like to open diplomatic relations with Earth, Throcknell said, and to offer our assistance in your integration into galactic society. More meetings followed. Trade guilds offered partnerships. Scientists wanted to visit Earth. Military organizations wanted to recruit humans. Everyone wanted something. By the end of the day, Daehyun was exhausted. He returned to the quarters and collapsed onto a bunk. How did it go? Yuna asked. We're famous, Daehyun said. Everyone wants to talk to us, trade with us, study us, or recruit us. It's overwhelming. What do we do? Junho asked. Daehyun thought about it. We do what we came here to do. We explore, we learn, we help people when they need it, and we show the galaxy that humans can be trusted. No pressure, Kiwan said dryly. Everyone laughed, and the tension broke. They were 12 people on a small ship, far from home, representing their entire species to a galaxy of aliens. But they were humans. And humans had survived worse. 3 days had passed since their arrival at Haven's Rest. The station was buzzing with activity and speculation about the humans. Every species had an opinion. Some saw opportunity, others saw danger, a few saw hope. In a secured conference room, the Galactic Council representatives met to discuss humanity's status. The debate had been going on for hours. They're too dangerous, Kalseth argued. A single science vessel defeated a Kravik raiding party. Imagine what they could do with actual warships. They showed restraint, Trixley countered. They could have destroyed the raiders but chose mercy instead. That demonstrates wisdom. Or tactics, Kalseth said. Perhaps they wanted to appear peaceful while assessing our strength. Shalora raised her crystalline hand. We've studied the humans carefully over these past days. I've spoken with their crew members, watched how they interact with other species, observed their behavior. They are genuine in their desire for peace. How can you be certain? Kalseth demanded. Because I've seen their fear, Shalora said quietly. They're terrified of making mistakes, of causing offense, of being seen as monsters. They know what they're capable of, and it frightens them. That self-awareness is rare and valuable. Un's lights pulsed thoughtfully. I have reviewed their cultural databases. Humans have a long history of conflict on their own world. Wars, violence, struggle. But they also have art, music, philosophy. They have stories about heroes who protect the weak. They value sacrifice and courage. All species have myths, Kalseth said. Yes, but humans live by theirs, Un replied. They answered a distress call knowing they were outmatched. That's not tactical thinking. That's moral imperative. The debate continued, but slowly the consensus shifted. The decision was made. Daehyun stood on the observation deck of Haven's Rest, looking out at the stars. Hana found him there, standing alone in the darkness. Couldn't sleep? She asked. Thinking about home, he said. Earth is so far away. And here we are, representing our entire species to billions of aliens. What if we mess up? Ass. Then we'll fix it, Hana said. That's what humans do. We make mistakes, and we learn from them. Before Daehyun could respond, his communicator chimed. It was Shalora, requesting his presence at the council chamber. This is it, Hana said. They gathered the crew and walked together through the station. Other beings stopped to watch them pass. Some looked curious, others fearful, many hopeful. The council chamber was large and circular, with seats arranged in tiers. Representatives from dozens of species filled the room. At the center stood Shalora and the other council members. Captain Kim, Shalora said formally. The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding humanity's status in the galactic community. The room went silent. Daehyun stood straight, his crew behind him. We have reviewed the incident at the Gentle Whisper, studied your species' history and culture, and interviewed your crew members. The Council has decided to grant humanity provisional membership in the galactic community. A wave of sounds rippled through the chamber. Some approving, some concerned. Shalora continued. Additionally, Earth will be designated as a protected death world. No colonization or exploitation will be permitted. Your home will remain yours alone. Thank you, Daehyun said, relief clear in his voice. We're honored. Roding. Number 5. Ganon 44. There are conditions, Kalseth said, standing. Earth must agree to peaceful relations with all member species. Human vessels will be monitored initially to ensure compliance with galactic law, and any human military development must be reported to the Council. We accept those terms, Daehyun said. We came here for peace. That hasn't changed. Then welcome, Shalora said, to the wider galaxy. May your species find friendship and prosperity among the stars. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. But the loudest sounds were of celebration. Later that evening, the Valarian Merchant Guild held a ceremony honoring the Horizon's Edge crew. Captain Thelris presented Daehyun with a crystal medallion. This is the guild's highest honor, Thelris said, given to those who risk everything to protect the innocent. You and your crew have earned it. Daehyun accepted it humbly. We were just doing what was right. That's why you deserve it, Thelris said. He looked at the other humans. I've been thinking about what you told me. About Earth. About how it shaped your species. I think I understand now. Your world made you strong. But you chose to use that strength to protect others. That's the definition of heroism. We're not heroes, Yuna said. We're just people trying to do good. Maybe that's what real heroes are, Prilma said from beside Thelris. People who do good, without thinking they're special for it. The celebration continued late into the station's night cycle. Species that had never spoken to each other before found themselves talking about the humans. The newcomers had done something unexpected. They'd brought the galaxy together, if only for a moment. The next morning, the Horizon's Edge prepared to depart. Supplies had been loaded, repairs completed, and the crew was rested. They stood on the bridge, looking at the star charts. Where to next? Minji asked from the pilot's seat. Before Daehyun could answer, Hana pulled up a message. We're receiving multiple distress calls. With our reputation now, everyone who gets in trouble hopes we'll respond. Daehyun looked at the list. 3 distress calls. A medical emergency in one sector. A ship with engine failure in another. Pirates attacking a mining colony in a third. We can't help everyone, Junho said quietly. We're just one ship. No, Kiwon said. But we can help someone. Daehyun studied the calls, then made his decision. The medical emergency. That's time-sensitive. Minji. Set course. Maximum speed. As the crew moved to their stations, Hana pulled Daehyun aside. You know what this means, right? We've started something. Other ships will see what we do. And maybe they'll help too. Maybe we're changing how the galaxy thinks about rescue and protection. Maybe, Daehyun said. Or maybe we're just doing what we think is right, and others will do what they think is right. Either way, someone needs help today. That's enough. The Horizon's Edge undocked from Haven's Rest. As they pulled away from the station, they passed the gentle whisper. Now fully repaired. Captain Thelris sent them a final message. Safe travels, my friends. Thank you, again, for everything. Take care, Daehyun replied. The human ship accelerated, its engines burning bright as it jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, Haven's Rest continued its endless rotation, its inhabitants talking about the day the Deathworlders arrived. On dozens of worlds, beings watched the recordings of the human rescue. They saw 12 people risk everything to save strangers. They saw capability tempered with compassion. They saw what heroes looked like. Some species started training their own rescue teams. Others reached out to Earth, wanting to learn more about these strange newcomers. A few began to wonder. If humans could survive a Class 12 death world and still choose kindness, what did that say about the rest of the galaxy? In the depths of space, the Horizon's Edge raced toward its next destination. Inside, 12 humans worked at their stations, comfortable in the artificial gravity and recycled air that would kill most species. They didn't think of themselves as special. They were just explorers from Earth, doing their job, helping where they could. But to the galaxy, watching them, they represented something new and important: hope. The distress call came through just as they entered the destination system. A small colony ship, stranded and running out of life support. They had sent out an SOS, hoping someone would hear. Someone did. "This is Captain Daehyun Kim of the Earth ship Horizon's Edge," he said into the communication system. "We received your distress call. Hold on. We're coming to help." And in the darkness of space, 12 Deathworlders prepared once again to do what they did best: answer the call when others needed them. Because that's what humans do.